Kung Fu Panda was released in 2008 and stars Jack Black. The movie follows a panda named Po, played by Jack Black, and he works in a restaurant that mainly deals with noodles. However, he has a dream. He dreams of doing Kung Fu, and he decides he wants to attend a ceremony where the so-called Dragon Warrior is going to be chosen. However, he accidentally interrupts the ceremony and ends up being chosen as the Dragon Warrior himself. Now this extremely clumsy panda has to go in and train himself to be the Dragon Warrior. He also has to do this in a hurry because a very fierce enemy known as Tai Lung is on the way. Now I've decided I want to review the first and second Kung Fu Panda movie because I am hoping to see Kung Fu Panda 3 in cinemas. I don't know if I will, but I'm hoping to. So, in anticipation of whether or not I'll see Kung Fu Panda 3, but in anticipation, I'm going to review the first two Kung Fu Panda movies. Conveniently here in Australia, when I actually just decide, okay, I want to marathon them, I want to watch the first two Kung Fu Panda movies, and just as I decided to do that, it just turns out that Kung Fu Panda 2 was just added to Netflix. Lucky me. Overall, this is a very fun and a very entertaining movie. In fact, a great YouTube friend of mine named The Dragon Critic, amazing channel if you don't know him, but he has stated to me several times that his favourite movie of all time is the Kung Fu Panda trilogy. The Kung Fu Panda trilogy to him is basically his Inside Out. And since I just watched this movie again for the sake of this review just last night, it's easy to see why. You can just tell from the opening scene that the movie is going to be very entertaining and a lot of fun. Like, I was watching the opening scene and I was going, okay, I already admit that this movie is a lot better than I remembered. And Jack Black is perfect as Po. The voice actor, I honestly am a Jack Black fan. I haven't seen too many Jack Black movies, but I feel like he is a very talented actor. But honestly, this is not my favourite performance from him. That would have to go to School of Rock. An awesome movie, by the way. But if you want to know what my favourite Jack Black movie is, that is my favourite Jack Black movie. I will probably actually review it now since, well, it's an underrated but awesome movie. Not only is this guy very entertaining, the talent with Jack Black is amazing, but there's also a lot of effort gone into this character, considering there's both a physical and mental character arc. The physical is the fact that, well, he's a big, clumsy panda and he needs to learn Kung Fu and really damn quickly as well. But he's extremely clumsy. But he also has a very mental and emotional conflict within him, because while he wants to learn Kung Fu, the problem is that he lacks self-esteem. He doesn't feel confident within himself. He doesn't think he can do it. And it doesn't help that the Furious Five, a group of warriors that he's obsessed with, and yet they look down on him, they judge him, and they think that he's not worthy of the Dragon Warrior just simply because he's a panda. So ultimately, there's actually some things in this movie about judging other people by their appearance and kind of being racist in a way, because they think that Po is not going to be able to deal with the problem because he's a panda and he's big, fat, and clumsy and he's not able to do Kung Fu. Is that like a symbolization of being racist? Why does that sound so familiar? Yeah, watching this movie again, this seriously reminded me of Zootopia. But he's not confident within himself. He lacks self-esteem, and that's something he needs to overcome throughout the movie, which I think is great. It's great writing. And the dialogue between Po and the rest of the Furious Five is great. One particular scene that stood out to me was a scene between Po and Crane. The facial expression and the delivery of Crane's lines, you can tell that he's not actually meaning what he's saying. Like, there's a lot of dimension with Crane's character in that particular scene. And it's really just due to subtle details like his facial expressions and the delivery of the lines. And that is great acting and great writing and great animating work. I love that kind of effort in movies. But not only does it have all these themes and these elements and this great character, but again, this movie is very entertaining and it's frequently funny. Despite the fact I've seen this movie before, I found myself laughing a lot during this movie. There are some really great funny moments that I still laughed at even though I've seen this movie before. And with a movie that has Kung Fu in the title, you would expect some action in this movie. And the action is very well realised. It's very great. It's not overly graphic because, you know, it's a kids movie, it's only PG. So there's nothing Terminator 2 like in here. But the action we do get is great. It's very entertaining, it's very fun. 3 highlights for me is the training sequence between Po and Shifu, the scene where Tai Lung escapes the prison, and the bridge scene between Tai Lung and the Furious Five. That is riveting stuff. I really love this bridge scene because it brings some great, excellent fun, entertaining, adrenaline-filled choreography into the fight, and it's something that we would never get in a live-action movie. The score is also great. It really fits the tone of the movie, as well as the fact that this movie is also very emotional. Now, one particular scene a lot of people say they sometimes cry at is a particular scene in the movie where a character dies. I won't spoil for you who it is. But there's actually another scene that I thought was more heartbreaking, and it's a scene where it's hard for me to get into without spoilers. It was basically a scene where a character was deciding that he was going to risk/give his life for the rest of China. And like the delivery of between all the characters in that scene, it's a very emotional scene. This is a very fun, very entertaining movie. Is it perfect though? No, I actually do have a couple of flaws with it. My first complaint is that the movie takes place entirely in China, and yet every single character in this movie speaks perfect English. Wouldn't there be at least a couple of characters who speak Chinese in? This is something I actually really do appreciate about movies like The Karate Kid 2010, a movie that a lot of people disliked, but I personally thought was very entertaining. It had a good mixture of people that could speak English, as well as quite a few times when the movie had characters that did speak Chinese and they had to use subtitles to make it feel more realistic. Every single character in this movie speaks perfect English, and it just feels very unrealistic. Now, I get that people might say it's just a kids movie, you need to have kids understand. But I think it wouldn't hurt to have some subtitles every now and then, just to make it more realistic, to really add to the location. Because I have trouble believing this movie takes place in China, just because everybody speaks English. Another complaint I have about this movie is the villain. The villain is not really that good, in my opinion. He's good, yes, and he's entertaining. He's a fun villain. But the problem I have with him is like the way he's built up throughout the beginning of the movie and the very first scene that he's in, the way he's built up. He looks like he's going to be this really dark and really evil, really threatening villain. However, he is more kind of threatening, but really more comical. I just never felt threatened by this guy. All I really got from this guy is that he just felt someone who was incredibly strong and he just wanted to destroy a country. But he didn't feel threatened. I never felt intimidated by him. I feel like they should have made this character a bit darker, a bit more diabolical, a bit more threatening in a way. I mean, the character Shifu is more threatening than Tai Lung, and he's one of the good guys. Another complaint I have, and this is kind of a spoiler, but what happens is the way Tai Lung is defeated. Now, that really isn't that much of a spoiler because it's pretty obvious the bad guy loses in the end of the movie. But the way he's defeated, it's revealed that we've got the whooshy finger, and that's how Po manages to defeat Tai Lung. The thing that really bothers me, though, is that if you're able to defeat this supposedly extremely powerful guy just by using the whooshy finger move with your pinky, and several, this seems like to be a rather well-known thing, like people like Po and Shifu know about this stuff, like Po knew about the move before he knew Kung Fu, and so if everyone knows about this move, then why doesn't anyone try and pull this move on Tai Lung earlier in the movie? Like, yeah, it's great that he used it, but it might have been a bit useful earlier, just saying. Also, the character Monkey really disappointed me, and it's just for one simple reason. They voice cast Jackie Chan in this movie, and he played as Monkey. Jackie Chan is one of the most popular actors in regards to action movies. And so you get such a big name like Jackie Chan, and he doesn't really say that much in this movie. Like, his dialogue, like, yeah, he physically does do stuff throughout the story, but dialogue-wise, he really disappointed me. I was expecting a lot more awesome stuff to come out of Monkey just simply because he's voiced by Jackie Chan. But no, he doesn't. I feel like that Jackie Chan was kind of wasted here, which is really disappointing. This would have been great for some great one-liners or great references or something, and I just was very disappointed. But even though I do have several complaints about this movie, these are not at all deal breakers, and I'm glad I decided to watch this movie again. It was very entertaining, very fun, and it was better than I remembered. It's a very entertaining movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you really should check it out. It's one of my favorite DreamWorks movies. Stay tuned for my review for the sequel. That will be out relatively soon. But until then, hasta la vista. baby.